Excel is the most used business application, and here's how to automate it with Microsoft Power Automate for Desktop. You'll learn all the basic things when we work with Power Automate for Desktop, and we will implement some very advanced features, such as dynamic file naming and Visual Basic for applications. Don't worry, this is a use case I'll take you through step by step while I hold your hand. The only thing I want you to do is to open up Power Automate for Desktop and do the things with me. My name is Jensen. Let's learn some Microsoft Power Automate for Desktop. Automating Excel is a central part in all automation development because we'll use Excel a lot in the businesses. Today you'll learn to automate Excel. And you'll also learn how to use macros, Visual Basic. It's not beginning stuff, but it's essential to understand because you'll need VBA, you'll need to learn just the syntax of it and how to invoke it. Don't worry, you'll not have to learn code, but let's get started. So we go to the lessons page here, and then we download the course data. So I download the Excel book. I click the three dots here and then click download. That one will download the Excel sheet. I will just do this and let me do this and then place the Excel sheet on my desktop. I do this because then I can easily get to it. You can place your Excel sheet wherever you want. Let's open the data. Here we have it. So we have 6 columns: employee ID, name, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, yearly sales and monthly sales. We have 10 employees, each one with a employee number. Then they have a name. Then they have sales for the first 2 quarters of the year and sales for the next 2 quarters of the year. We want to calculate the yearly sales, the monthly sales, and then we want to find out our best sellers and our worst sellers. That seems very rude, but we want to see how we can differentiate between them easily. And we'll do this by color coding them. So for monthly sales below 10,000, we want this cell to be colored red if this one has monthly sales of less than 10,000. More than 30,000, that one will be green. And between 10 and 30,000, that one will be yellow. So shouldn't we start automating Excel in Power Automate for Desktop? You go to Power Automate for Desktop. I click New Flow and then give my flow a name. I will say Excel and VBA. VBA is a central part in Excel. And don't worry, it can seem a bit overwhelming, but it's very easy. It's not rocket science. First, we will start with the Excel basics. I want to maximize this. I want to read my data. And the first thing I'll do is launch Excel and then read this Excel book. You can see we have 2 sheets and I want to read the employee sheet, not this Jensen where you can find information about me. So I want to read this and let me just close it. We can do it in 2 ways. First, I'll grab the path. I'll shift right click. I repeat, shift right click with the mouse, then copy as path. Go back to Power Automate for Desktop. Then I'll find a launch Excel here and drag it in. We need to alter a few parameters. First, we will launch Excel not with a blank document, but we will open the following document. Here you can paste in the document path. You could also have clicked the selected file here and then find your files in your Explorer. That one will also be fine, but I'll do it like this. And remember to move the quotation marks around the file path, so it will look like this. Make instance visible. Do we want to see the Excel sheet whenever we run the robot? Usually we will not, but now it's quite exciting to see what we have accomplished step by step, so let's keep it on. Open as read only. We will not do that because we want to write back to Excel. In advanced settings, those ones we'll come back to later in this lesson, but variables produced. This Excel instance, when we open this Excel sheet, that will produce an instance called Excel instance. This is a variable. You can click on it and you can see the 2 percentage signs on each side that will indicate it's a variable. We click save. So now we have launched it. We also need to close it. Otherwise, Power Automate for desktop can and will close it for editing. That will be quite annoying. So always remember to close your Excel automation again. So I'll find a close, Excel, and drag it in. Here I will just close this Excel instance and I'll choose to save it. So whatever I have written in it, I will save it. Then I click Save. I can run the automation. So if I click Run here and just test that everything works, that I can actually read the Excel book and I can close it. So far, so good. You can see that we have one variable, that is the Excel instance. Now our strategy is, and let me open up the employee sheet again. I want to find out where my data is because I need to provide Power Automate for desktop with the range for my data. This is the range, but Power Automate won't know. So what I will do is that I'll find this row here, that is the first free row, and I'll find this one, that is the first free column. Because then I know one column before, that is where my data stops, that is the one column before the first free column, and similarly down here, one row before the first free row, my data stops, and then I will have my range. So let's do that in Power Automate for desktop. So I go here. I'll then find a get first free row column. So I'll search for get first free column row. And please remember to take this one here, the get first free column row, and not the get first free row on column. So take this one. This is not in the advanced section. So drag this one in. Drag it in between the launch and the close. Here I'll just read from the Excel instance and then I'll produce two variables. The first free column and the first free row. That is fine. I click Save. So let me close down my Excel sheet here and run the automation. There we go. We can now see that we have a number that is the first free column and the first free row. We can read our Excel data. So if I go out here and I'll say read from Excel worksheet, find that action and drag it in underneath the get first free row column. Now I want to retrieve the value from a range of cells, so I pick that one. The start column, that is the first column, that is column A. The start row, that is the row 1, so we will start all the way up from the upper left corner in an Excel sheet. The end column, now we will use this variable over here or the content of it. So to pick that variable, pick the X here, first free column, double click that. Now we have it, but we want to go one before the first free column. That's where our data ends. So I go inside here, the percentage sign, and press -1. That's it. The same thing with the end row. Click the X here, first free row, and then I choose -1. One thing that we'll need to alter is in the advanced section. We'll need to say that our first line of range contains column names. I'll take that one because we have headers. That was the name, the employee ID, and the monthly sales and all these things. Those ones are headers. We specified here. That's important. So I click Save. I can try to run the automation once more. This is a good approach to when you have made one or two steps in the beginning. Try to run your flow, see it works, see that you can read the data. Now go over here, you can see the Excel data. That is a data table that we produced here in this Excel, read from Excel worksheet. You can see it here, and you can see it if you opened the action. So if I double click here, I have my data table. That is the Excel sheet written as a data table. You can see the structure is entirely the same. Here we have the row numbers, and this is 0 indexed. So the first row is 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so forth. Then we have the employee ID, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have the name, then we have the sales here, and so forth. Now we can do calculations on it. So I click Close. So the strategy here is that I want to iterate through this data table with our data. So I'll find a for each. So search for a for each in actions here and drag it in underneath the read from Excel worksheets. Here we just pick our Excel data. And this current item, that is each one of the rows one by one, they'll be stored into this variable called current item. That is fine. You can, for example, pick person. You can give it any name you want. This is just a reference for you to remember. So you have more for eaches. You want to give them a very describing name so you don't confuse yourself. Then I click Save. So now I'm iterating to each one of these rows Everything that comes between the for each and the end, those ones will be actions to be performed. We have nothing in it, so nothing will happen. No need to run the automation, but we'll know that it will happen. Let me open up my data once more. Here. And here I want to do the calculations. But first, since these are Excel objects stored as text, whether or not these are numbers, I want to convert these things to numbers in Power Automate for desktop. So that's it, the Q1, Q2 column and the Q3, Q4 column. I'll convert those ones to numbers so I can calculate on them. So I can close it again, go back to my workflow. So I'll find a convert text to number, and this is somewhat annoying that you'll have to do these actions. Even though that your data is formatted as numbers, you'll end up doing this. So I'll have a convert text to number, but that's okay. It's just the approach. So no need to be in a bad mood about that. So text to convert. Now I will target each one of my rows. That was the Q and item. So I'll find it here, Q and item. But I only want to target the Q1, Q2 column here. So to do this, I can go in here and then I can say hard brackets, start. Then I can say quotation marks. I can say Q1, Q2, quotation marks, hard bracket end. This will target this column. I could also give it the column number. But then we will have the situation if the business side, they decide to change the order of columns or insert a column, then the numbers wouldn't be right. Of course, here, if they decide to change the column headers, we will be in problems as well. So always tell the business side, if they handle the data, to do it right. Then there's no problem. The variables produced, it will produce a text as number. Let's give it a better number. You can just overwrite this. I say Q1, Q2. You don't have to worry about the percentage signs. Those one will be added automatically, as you can see here. Then I click save. So now I'm having this one Q1, Q2 as a variable number. I can work with it. Similarly, I will right click here or just press Ctrl C, then Ctrl V or right click, paste it in. Now I have two similar actions. I'll just change this to Q3, Q4. So I'll open it, double click it. This is a nice way of doing it instead of creating it all the way from scratch. I'll do this. I'll also store it in a Q3, Q4 variable like this. And then I'll click save. So now I just have two variables as numbers. I can run my automation once more. Here we go. You can see that we're iterating through each one of the rows. That is this for each symbolizing. And here we have our variables. This is just the variables of the last row because we have 10. So these ones will get overwritten once we do a for each. So we'll have them over and over. And now we will take advantage of these two variables because we want to do our calculation. So let me open up the Excel sheet again by double clicking it. Here I want to do the calculation. So I want to add this one to this one and then print it out in yearly sales and so forth for each one of these rows. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th column. And you can see that this one starts with number 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth. We'll create a variable that will start with 2 and then we'll add 1 to them so we can write it back to the right cell. That one will be this, 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 this. Let me show you. So back to Power Automate for desktop. Then we'll find the set variable first. So I'll say set variable here. Drag it in above the for each because we will define it once and for all before the for each. So I'll do the row number like this and we'll give it the value of 2 because that one was the row number that our Excel data started in. So I'll do this. And then each time I have done a calculation, that is these two, and we'll have a few more actions, then we want to add 1 to this number. We'll do that by dragging it in here. Then we'll find the right variable. That one will be the row number like this. And here we can say row. So I click the X. I'll find the row number here. And to add 1 to it, I go inside the percentage signs and press +1. That's it. So now I have it. Now I can write it back because I got this supporting variable. I know it was column 5 and I have this row number as the current row 1 and 1. So let's find a write to Excel worksheet like this. Drag it in above the set variable, but below the to convert text to numbers. I'll use the Excel instance. That one is from up here. Then the value. I'll add these two together. So first I'll find the first one here. That one will be the Q1, Q2. And inside the percentage signs, I can make a space. That doesn't matter. The spaces will be ignored. It's just easier for you to read. So I'll have a plus. Then I'll add the Q3, Q4. And now it's very important that you delete this percentage sign and this one. So here we have the percentage signs and then we have the variables, and in between we have no percentage signs. So that one is fine. We'll write to specified cell, that is fine. The column we want to write to, that was number 5. And the row, that one was the row number. So here I can just take the value from the row number like this. Then I click save. Let's close our Excel sheet and see if we can run it successfully and we can write data back to our sheet. So here you can see we are iterating to each one of these rows. There you go. Let's go out and inspect our data. We now have yearly sales and those ones look approximately right. I think they are right. Of course they're right. So now we will calculate the monthly sales and then we can start to get a little bit more advanced. Because the monthly sales, that is column 6 by the way. And I will go back to Power Automate for desktop. I will create a monthly sales variable, which I will use to write back to Excel, but I will also use it for one other purpose. But let's first find a set variable. I'll drag it in underneath the write to Excel worksheet. In the variable new var, I will call this monthly sales like this. And the monthly sales is just calculated as Q1, Q2 plus Q3, Q4. Those two added divided by 12. So let's just do Q1, Q2, just like before. We say plus. Then we'll say Q3, Q4 here. And I'll delete these two and these two. Then I'll have a parentheses because now we will add these two first and then we will divide by 12 like this. We click save. So this one is our monthly sales. Now we will write that back to Excel as well. So I will find a write to Excel worksheet, drag it in beneath the set variable here. So here we have the Excel instance, that is fine. We'll do the exact same thing as we did up here. The value to write, that one will just be our monthly sales. We already did the calculation here. Specified cell, that is right. We take the column 6. The row will still be the row number. So I'll choose the row number out here like this. I'll just let it be for 2 seconds so you can do the same. Then I click save. So now we write our monthly sales back again. We can run the automation to see that we actually succeed. It will take like 10 iterations of these rows. That's fine. 8, 9, 10. I like these things to see that things succeed. So if I do this, I open up the sheet. Now we have the monthly sales. So now for the advanced part of this exercise, I want to apply these rules to it. So I want to say, if this monthly sales is below 10,000, you can see that we have one here, 4,800. Then I want to paint it red. Similarly, I want the highest sales green, otherwise yellow. We can't do it directly in Power Automate for desktop. We could open up the Excel sheet and then click buttons here, but we want to do it directly. So what you need to do is to scroll a little bit down. I cheated and created the script for you. You don't need to do it. You'll find this lessons again in the description below. So here we have a macro. This is Visual Basic for applications. It's called color code. We have 2 ingoing arguments, one called monthly sales and one called row number. The monthly sales is the monthly sales from before, and so is the row number. Here we will say if the monthly sales is below 10,000, then we want to take the range F and then the row number, that will be the current row number, and we want to paint it in color 3, that is red. And similarly, if it's above 10,000 and below 30,000, then we want to paint it 6. If it's above 30,000, then we want to paint it 4. So what you do here is that you click copy. And then we go to our Excel sheet. So that is here. Here you should see a developer tab. If you don't see it, then click File, then find the options down here. Click Customize Ribbon and make sure that this developer is ticked here. Do that. Mine is, so I have it. So then I click OK. Now click the developer up here. We will use this code in this sheet so we can call it from Power Automate for desktop. So click the Visual Basic. That one is over here. Now right click, insert module, and then we can copy in what we copied from here, or we can paste in what we copied from here. This one is our macro. So this one is color code. So now I will just save it. And this one is saved as xlsx. Now you can see we can't autosave because we have a macro. So what I want to do now, I go back to my Excel sheet, I click Save As. Then instead of calling it, I want to call it employees and place it on the desktop, but I want to choose it as macro enabled. So that is the xlsm, make sure that. Save it the same place. Now close down our sheet here. And you can see that we now have a macro enabled workbook. If I open it. Then I can click Enable Content. I want to make this as a trusted document. That one you have to. This is just this code. But if I go to Developer again, Visual Basic, you'll find our macro. This one is the one that we want to call. So we want to call color code. That was the name. So let me just close this, close this. What do you think about the quality of this lesson? Please post it in the comment below. That will help me a lot. Thank you. First thing that we will need to fix is that we now have the employees xlsm name. So we will go back to Power Automate Desktop and fix it up here in the Launch Excel. So instead of xlsx, we will say xlsm. We could of course also find it by clicking this select file. Then you need to go down to Advanced, choose Nest under a new Excel process and load add-ins and macros. I repeat, go down to Advanced, take the Nest under a new Excel process and load add-ins and macros. Then click Save. So now we have created the macro and we are reading it here. Then we need to run it from Power Automate for desktop. Again, you don't need to understand the code. You just need to understand what we're doing here. So rewind the video if things goes too fast. It's designed for that. Now I'll have the run Excel macro. Drag it just beneath the write to Excel worksheet, but above the set variable. So I want to target the Excel instance. That is still this one, even though we are also the address. So the macro, I'll just say color code. That was my name of my macro. And then we have two ingoing arguments. Remember in the script, we had the monthly sales and the row number. So separated by a semicolon, I will then have my first argument. That one was monthly sales. So I can click here. I'll take the monthly sales variable. That's why we created it. Then another semicolon, and then I'll find the row number. That is the current row number. So we know which cell we want to paint. Then I click Save. So now we can run it. This one will paint our cells in the correct color when we have run the automation. So now we will run it like 10 times here. We are running the Excel macro for each one of these rows and paint the right cell. Here, let me open this one here. There you go. We have now painted the correct cells in the color that we wanted. That one is fine. A thing that we can change is that each time we run this automation, this one will just get overridden. It would be nice if we could have a timestamp, so each time we run this, there will be a unique identifier. That one could be a timestamp. Let me show you. So we just have new files each time this robot runs. So let me go here. So the first thing I want to find is to get the current date and time. So I'll find a get current date and time. And this one will get the current system time when the robot starts because I place it in the beginning. So I'll have the current date and time. The time zone, that is the system time zone. That one is my time zone. So then that one will be stored into a variable called current date and time. I click Save. Now I need to convert this date and time into a text. So I'll go over here, then I'll say convert date time to text here and drag it in beneath the get current date and time. So the date time to convert, that one is this variable up here, current date time. So I'll pick it here. Here I can choose a standard format. This one lets me choose between some very standard and fixed formats. Those ones are good if you want. You can see an example of it here. But I want to customize it, so I customize it. Here I can customize the format. And these ones are .NET, that is a programming language or a framework. So I can say for wise, I can say month, I can say days. You can see an example comes here. This one I will use for my file name. Then I'll say hours, like this, and then I'll say minutes and seconds. That's it. This one will get saved into formatted date time. So I click save here. Now I can go down all the way to close Excel here. So here I can save the document, but I want to save document as. And here I will just choose the same path as before. So I'll find it on my desktop. Make sure you choose the right one. That is the macro enabled workbook. Then I click open and I will use the date. So here I will just put in my variable just before the employees. So here I'll have the formatted date time variable. I will find it over here. There you go. So now I have that in front of the employees. I can click save. So now I run it. I will run it 10 times. This is just as before. It will just give a new file name to the Excel macro-enabled workbook with our data in. That one will be on our desktop, so we don't overwrite the previous. There you go. We now have a unique file name. This is how you can do unique file names, which is pretty clever because we want to report each time our robot runs. Another thing that we can have a problem on, this is our data. Let me open it. If I do this, then this sheet is active. I just click save or I click close. And then if I try to run the robot, so let me try to run it. Here we are launching the Excel. And now we have a problem because we can't find the data. That is because we are looking in the wrong sheet. So this one will just take, this one will launch Excel. Let me just show you here. It will launch Excel, but it will just take the active sheet. So to fix for that, we will open the book. That one is this one. And then we will set the active sheet. So if I go over here and I'll find a set active Excel worksheet. So just below the launch Excel. Then I'll have the Excel instance. I'll activate worksheet with name and then I will find it. Mine one was called employees. So let me just rename because I'm lazy. So I'll copy it here, write it here. So I will make sure that my employee sheet will get activated like this. Let's try to run the robot again. So this is just a way to make sure that we are using the correct data, that we are on the right sheet if we have multiple sheets. This is important to say that I've been in or another colleague have opened up the data. Then I want to make sure that I have actually opened it. Now you can see it ran again. It made a new record. I can open it. There you go. We now have a nice new sheet, which is formatted correct. The next lesson is on the screen. Just click the video.